I don't get a reminder, so thank you. And does everybody see record working okay? And I gotta
Yep.
Okay, super. Sorry, guys, I gotta plug in real quick. That would be horrible to lose you all. Okay, now we're good. Okay, good, 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 good. All right, so as I was just saying, is that the best help that I can give you is just the basics. You'll probably have those down. There's, just some real basic stuff, but you're always going to get stumped. There's always going to be something that's going to pop up that's like, how do I cite this? What do I do? And so just to make you feel better, I'm still getting stumped with certain things of like, how do I cite this? So we will learn the basics, and then it's really, honestly, it's a matter of just using it. That's how you get efficient with citation, is just using it, using it, using it. And hopefully you won't just be using it in this class. They give it to you in 121 and the hopes that it's going to spread out and apply to all of your other classes. That said, I know some of you have to juggle between MLA and APA, but even if you do have to juggle between the two, the basic concept is pretty similar. The citation looks different, but the basic concept is really similar. So once you kind of have one system down, it makes it a lot easier to kind of juggle back and forth between the two. So, and I can always tell the students that are using solely APA in other classes because they give me APA. So, but for English, we are required to do, I am required to teach you MLA. So that's why we use that one. No, not because I'm picking it or have a preference. It's just that that's what Front Range requires. So going into content this week, I've got a bunch of resources in here that are super helpful. But then of course, I have my very favorite, which is Al Purdue, which we talked about last week. That's super helpful. But there's a couple different sources and information in here that is gonna help you guys out a lot. Something that I do want to point out to you is this. Some of these here, these containers are very good at letting you know on the works cited page. This is just the works cited page. This is not for in-text citation. But of course, before you can do in-text citation, you have to have the works cited page cited, because that tells you how to do it in text. But these containers here, these are going to show you what is needed in a citation that goes on the works cited page. Now, I really recommend, and I don't know why you wouldn't want to use it, using a citation generator such as EasyBib.com, which I'll show you tonight, or Citation Machine. It's like when I was doing my degree, I didn't know there was such a thing as a citation generator, and doing my citations took me as long as writing the essay. So why would you not use those? Just do use them. Like, there's no reason not to use them. They're quite efficient. But I will caution you that sometimes it might be missing information and they're not always right. So until you kind of get an eye at being able to look at a citation that the citation generator put together for you, I recommend like maybe having two screens open, one looking at this here, and then another one with the citation itself, and you can just kind of do a reference. For instance, sometimes citation generators will put the first name first instead of the last name to start the citation. That's an error. It should always be last name, comma, first name. It might pull the website instead of doing an article title or whatnot, and we'll kind of go through the process of order of operation that you need to use. But just know that these are available for you guys on this site. It's going to show you what should be included in a citation, and it gives you the finished product, which is super helpful. So all of this information, and it needs to go in this order, all of this information, this is what it looks like when the citation is completed. So And then it gives you a blank one too, which is kind of nice. So if you ever wanted to create your own, you could. You could just pop up here and put all the information. Again, I don't recommend it just because it takes you much longer to do. The citation generators are great, but they do, they're not always 100% accurate. So you just want to check them, especially until you get ready of, being able to eye it and go, that's not right. I've got to fix this. It gives you a reference to see how it's done. So are there any questions with this? We're going to go into this in a lot more depth, but I just wanted to point this out first. Are there any questions so far? And as we go through, if you do have questions that come up, just raise your hand on the little thingy or just interrupt me. Say, Ms. Brody, got a question. Don't mind at all. I can't see you, so it helps. Then going back into here, we always have to start with what I referenced as order of operation. And let's go in there first. This is super important because this is like lines it out for you. So when you're creating citations that go on the Works Cited page, again, you have to have that first before you know how to do in-text citations, because they correspond. One goes with the other goes with the other. You can't have one without the other, and you don't know how to do an in-text citation until the citation is created. So order of operation would be, you always want to try to have on a citation, the best one is always to have the author's last name. Okay. What you're going to find a lot of is that authors' last names are not available on a lot of electronic sources that we use. You might get a website and they've got corporate authors and they no longer list the individual author. So you can't do the author's last name. Okay. So then if the author's last name is not available, the second order of operation would be to go with an article title. So within a website, within a magazine, within just kind of like a YouTube video, anything, you're going to have a title that is not the main title, but the inside title. So it's going to be the article title. And that is what you want to look for next. So if the author's name's not available, then a citation would need to start with the article title. Okay. Then again, a lot of times there is no article title. So you guys might have found this out when you were looking for, looking up some of your websites. Maybe you noticed that. I don't know. If you didn't, no big deal. But if an article title is not available, then the citation on the Works Cited page needs to start with the website title or a book title, the main title. So this is kind of the order of operation. One thing I will tell you is when you use the citation generators, it's very nice because it'll give you, before it actually gives you a completed citation, it's gonna give you a template and it's gonna say, looks like some information's missing. And it's gonna tell you exactly what was missing that they weren't able to find when you gave them the URL for that source. So then it's going to tell you, author's name's missing, or no article title, or publisher name, or date of publication, something like that. It's going to tell you that something's missing. The beauty of MLA 9, didn't used to be this way with MLA, but MLA 9 just asks that you do your due diligence. So you do have the obligation to go back into the source and try to find the missing information. However, if you've done your due diligence, you looked for that information and it's just simply not there, then you don't include it. Okay, you only have to include what is actually available in a citation. But again, the best would be to have author's last name on a citation on the Works Cited page to start the citation off. If that's not available, then the article title should start that citation off. But then again, if neither of those two are available, then the next best thing would be like a website title or a book title, and that's going to start the citation on the Works Cited page. Okay, any questions on that order of operation? Okay, all right. Now there are 3 different ways that we do citation, and you do have to cite all 3 of these types. One of them has to be cited just a little bit more directly. So the first one would be the direct quote. And this is where you are simply using information from another source word for word. Like you're not changing anything, even if it's got grammatical errors, you keep them in there and you put that into your the body of evidence, your text. This one has to be done very specifically. So it must start with quotation marks. And once you're done with using that information word for word, then it's got to end with end quotation marks. And then it's got to end with a citation. We're going to go into this more because there's also the signal phrase you can put it in. So we're going to talk about that. But the biggest thing with the direct quote is that it must be cited either immediately before you use the direct quote or immediately after in a parenthetical citation. You can't wait like a few sentences and then cite it. Even if the direct quote ends in the middle of a sentence, you don't go to the end of the sentence, you end it right when the quote ends. So there must be either a citation immediately following the direct quote, or it's got to go immediately after. You can't wait. You can't have any more text going until you give credit to that source because it's directly quoted. It's word for word. And again, we're going to go through Al Purdue and we're going to look at this in depth. Are there any questions on a direct quote? Okay. All right. And then for the next one that you still have to cite is still considered plagiarism if you don't cite it, would be paraphrased information or summarized information. So paraphrased information is going to be where you take those direct quotes and you basically rewrite them in your own words. It doesn't mean you just pull out a couple words here and there. It means you rewrite it into your own wording. With paraphrased and then summarized information is very similar, but summarized information would be, let's say you take an entire article and you just list like the 5 main points of that article, and then you put it into your own words, and then you're going to have to cite that as well. So paraphrasing is, when maybe you're not taking like an entire article or an entire couple of paragraphs, you're just taking like maybe even a few sentences and you're putting it into your own words. Where a summary is going to be probably more information summarized, so you're just taking the main points. But again, both of these are putting this information into your own words, so it's your own writing. And this should be the bulk of your papers. The direct quotes should be no more than 40%. This is where that 40% comes into play. And then the paraphrased and summarized information can be as much as 60%. Of course, you're going to have some of it where you didn't borrow any information. It's just your own wording, your own thoughts in your paper. And that would be different. But that, as well as your own thoughts, should be 60% of the content of your essay. Okay. With paraphrasing and summary, it's beautiful. It used to be that it was just like a direct quote. You had to cite after every single sentence, which honestly is just, it detracts from the overall flow of the paper. So I'm so grateful that they, have removed that you don't have to. That said, as long as you're using the same source, let's say you're writing a whole paragraph, and you've gotten that information from the same source, you don't have to put a parenthetical citation in there. You can go like 3 to 4 sentences before you plug one in. If you cite it in the beginning sentence, the signal phrase, which you're going to learn about in your chapter reading this week, you're still going to have to plug it in at the end if you go on 3 to 4 sentences. And I always think of that in citation kind of being something that protects the text. It like protects it. So it keeps you from being accused of plagiarism, and it provides credibility to the information because it's like, hey, this is credible information. This is from another source. They've done their research and this is where it's coming from. Same thing with summarized information. Every 3 to 4 sentences, you can wait before you cite it. I wouldn't go any longer than that though, without plugging it in. And that's something with feedback that I will show you. You need to plug this information in. So one thing that I will caution you, and I think we might have talked about this a little bit in the last class, is let's say that you are able to rattle off some stats and facts because it's a business that you work in, but you aren't, quote, accredited, with some sort of degree behind your name, you still are going to want to cite that information because you need that credibility for that information. And, you know, anybody could make up numbers, right? I'm not saying you would ever do that, but I'm just saying that anybody could make up numbers. And how do you know? How do you know what you're talking about? Why should I believe you? So by citing it, I always call it backward citing. So you know this information, but you still need to cite it. So I just go in and you plug in that information into Google, and then you find a source that's pretty much saying the same thing, and then you're going to use that to cite it. So those are just some basics on citation. Are there any questions so far? Okay, and I just want to make sure you guys can hear me, correct? I
Can
can't.
hear you
We can hear you.
perfectly
We
fine.
can hear you.
Okay, good. I'm just glad. After a while when there's silence, I'm like, I've been talking and I've lost my whole class. So thank you for just letting me do a check-in. Now, one thing I do want to talk about also before we move on are titles. Titles can be confusing, but I hope that this analogy is going to make it pretty simple for you. So how do you know when you should quote a title or italicize or underline a title? And you can, italicizing or underlining means the same thing. So you get to choose. You can either underline titles or you can italicize them. I find italics is probably a little bit easier than underlining. I don't know why, maybe it's not. Kind of have to do the same thing. But so if it is an outside title, so I'm going to say, I'm going to pretend that my notebook here, I'm going to pretend that this is the outside cover. Can you guys all see this notebook? You can. I think I've got a comment up there.
Yes, I can see it.
See it. Okay, thank you so much. And the reason I want to ask that is because, so let's say that this is a title of a book or a magazine or a newspaper. It's the outside main title. Outside main titles have to be italicized or underlined, your choice, and capped, right? All major words, even helping verbs have to be capitalized. There's some rules to it, but those are going to be capitalized they're going to be italicized or underlined. Any of the inside titles, so let me make sure I'm not giving any information I shouldn't, but let's say that this is the inside of my book and now I've got a chapter title. Chapter titles have to be quoted. Okay, so inside titles, such as a magazine article, you've got Time Magazine. Inside, you've got all these articles. All the articles inside that magazine have to be quoted. You've got the Daily Times Call newspaper. That's going to be italicized or underlined. All of the articles within the newspaper have to be quoted. You have a book title. Okay, the book title is italicized or quoted. Anything inside, it's italicized or underlined. Inside chapters, quoted. You've got a website is your main title. That's going to be italicized or underlined. Anything inside that website that's considered an article would be quoted. TV shows, like episodes of a TV show. Let's see. What's a TV show? I don't watch TV. That's sad. I can't even give you one. Can you guys tell me a TV show? Friends. Okay. Sorry, this lets you know I don't watch TV. Stranger Things. There you go. I should know that. A bunch of students are really into that. So Stranger Things. Stranger Things is going to be italicized or underlined. Any of the episodes are going to be quoted. Okay. So movie titles, their main titles, so those are going to be underlined or italicized. So hopefully that kind of gives you guys the gist of it. And it does matter a lot with citations. Like for instance, even right here, if you see the impact, this was an article title, and then you've got Al Purdue as an outside title, a main title, so it's italicized. Article titles also in a citation, for some reason, they are the only thing that can be abbreviated in the in-text citation, not on the works cited page, but in the in-text citation, they can be abbreviated. Main titles cannot be, but article titles can be abbreviated in only in the in-text citations, not on the works cited page. The works cited page, you have to put the full title. Okay, any questions on this? And again, this is all available to you. Excuse me. This is all available to you guys on this week's module. And yes, Lex, I see a question.
Yeah, I do have a question, and
Yes.
it it may not apply in this class, but just out of curiosity, what about how would you do things that have like subsections, right? So, I mean, for example, I mean, this isn't, I don't know if this is a good example, but like a play,
Mhm.
right? Title of the play is the outside title, but then is like the act, then inside title, and then the scene title would be the
I-
like the third layer to that kind of
That's a
thing.
really good question. I think on a play, you're just going to use that outside title, and then like the act or scene, I think is done almost like a page number. It's done a little differently.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure because I just so rarely ever cite anything like
I
that.
feel like that would apply to something else, but I couldn't think of good
Yes,
examples of that.
yes. So, yes, so that's a great question. And let's see if it shows us. It may show us in the Al Purdue that we're going to be looking at. So let's go into, I'm going to get you guys back in here. And we are going to click into, and I think it does answer it on Al Purdue. I'm pretty sure that it does. Let's go in here. Where are you, Al Purdue? My favorite. Okay. Okay, so this is super helpful, and this actually helps you guys if you're doing APA too. It's got APA stuff as well, so it's a great one for anything. I think it's even got Chicago. So if you're, having to jump back and forth between different citations, this is a great source. So we're just going to go through the very basics. I'll try to keep the ads down because, of course, they always are popping up. But these are, and I'll explain. If it's an ebook or something, you still are going to have page numbers if it gives page numbers. Sometimes ebooks don't. But this one here, there's two ways that you can cite. So this is just a real basic citation. So this one here, this is, and you'll read this in your chapter reading tonight. It's going to talk about signal phrases and signal sentences and signal citations like in the beginning. So this one here, it's got Wordsworth. This is the author. So this is considered citing this direct quote right here. Okay, this is a direct quote, we know, because it's got the quotations, beginning and ending. It gives Wordsworth in the beginning of the sentence. So notice when you go down here in the parenthetical citation, you don't have Wordsworth again. Now, this page number, it's very rare nowadays because almost all of our sources that we use are online. If it's an online source, yay, you do not have to put page numbers or paragraph numbers. Yay again. So you would be done. If you've got Wordsworth right here, you don't need anything in the parenthetical citation. You just put your period. Okay? So that would be done. But because it's got a page number, this tells me that this is actually a physical source. So if you've got a physical book that you're citing and it's got page numbers, you do still have to put the page numbers on it. Okay? Or an ebook that has page numbers, you would still do it. Then the other option, so that's option one. Option two would be not to use the author's name in the signal phrase, okay, and then use it in the parenthetical citation. Something that is just, it's one of those things that just is like it's so hard to get people to do it because it's so foreign and it just is so unnatural. But when you're doing, when you're doing a parenthetical citation and the sentence would end with a period, you no longer put the period at the end of the sentence. The period gets moved, if you notice, after the parenthetical citation. And the logic behind this, there actually is logic behind it, is that this sentence is no longer complete without the parenthetical citation. It's required. So therefore, the period gets moved and it gets put after the parenthetical citation. And that's for any of them. That's for any time you use a direct quote or a citation at the end of something, you're always going to move that period after the parenthetical citation. That said, if this sentence ended with a question mark or an exclamation mark, you would still put that punctuation there, that end mark there, but then you still have to put a period there. Okay, so then you're doubling up on them if it doesn't end in a period. But if it's a period, you just move it and put it to the end there. Okay, and I know that seems like what's a big deal about that? It just is kind of a big deal. Like it's one of those things that I can't not see it when it's there, when it's not, when you've got two periods. So, oh, album titles, that's a good question. Yep, that, and Tyler's asking, album titles are italicized, song titles would be quoted. Yep, exactly, inside titles. Thank you, Tyler. Okay, so that's this, and then this here, this is, again, they're just doing the same thing. This would be if you paraphrase the information and you didn't put it into your own words. This is a paraphrased example. You still have to cite it, Wordsworth, and then the page number. Okay, but that said, you could have gone a few sentences down before you plugged in the 263 or something, although unless it's like different page numbers, you might do it right after. So any questions on that? Okay, and this is what this looks like on the Works Cited page. So it's Wordsworth William, the title of the book, if you notice it's italicized, Lyric Ballads. It was published by Oxford in 1967. Okay, all the commas and periods in the citation also matter, but almost always the citation generators are going to plug those in for you. But again, that's something you can check on those templates that I've got available to you. You can check and make sure that they've done that correctly as well, because it all matters. So here again, this is a couple different ways for print sources like books, magazines, scholarly journal articles, newspapers. Provide a signal, word, or phrase, usually the author's last name and a page number. So again, this is for a physical source. So here, human beings have been described by Kenneth Burke. So Kenneth Burke is the author as symbol using animals. So then you've got the parenthetical citations, the page number. Here it is when you just quoted symbol using animals and you didn't put the last name or the first and last name up here in the signal phrase, then you put it in the parenthetical citation. So these are really basically the same thing. And then this is what it looks like on the Works Cited page. One thing though I will have to say that this really should have in here, if you're just referencing a few pages, it should be on this citation. It should be, can't remember if it's where page number goes. It's either here or here, and you just do PP period and then the page numbers and then period again. So that I don't know why they're not using that. If it's the whole book, you don't put a page number, but if you've only used a couple pages out of a book, you should put it on the citation itself. And that template actually will show you exactly where it goes. So that's another thing that's really helpful in using that. Okay, any questions so far?
So far, so good on my end.
Okay, thank you. All right, guys, and then here, this is getting us into, this is when a source has no known author. This happens all the time that we were talking about. So again, we go to our order of operation. We're going to go to our article title. So this here, this is the direct quote, starts here, quotation marks, and they did use an ellipse, which you're welcome to use anywhere you want to. If you don't want to put in the full quote, you can always, you could have an ellipse here, you could have another ellipse here, and then an ellipse at the end. That just means that you're only putting in what you wanted, but there's more to that direct quote than what you're showing. And then for an article title, you would just do parentheses, and then of course you have to quote it. It's not italicized, so impact of global warming. But honestly, you could just abbreviate that to impact if you don't have another source that starts that way. If you have multiple sources that say impact of global warming, you're going to have to keep going until you differentiate the different articles. But as long as it's the only one, they wrote more than they needed to. You could just do impact, end quote here, parenthesis, period. Unless you're trying to get word count up. Then every little word counts, right? And then this is what it looks like when you've done this the citation on the Works Cited page. So notice the full title was The Impact of Global Warming in North America. And with electronic sources, you do have to put a URL and then you put an access date. So this was access, this shows this hasn't been, is old, access 23rd of March 2009. But you do have to put the Works Cited page, or not, sorry, not the Works Cited page. You do have to put the URL for the website on the citation that goes on the Works Cited page. Okay, so that is this. Now notice too how they work synergistically, they work together. So whatever is up in text in the body of the essay has to be on the Works Cited page. Whatever on the Works Cited page has to be cited in text. So if you've got a bunch of sources listed on your Works Cited page, but you have no reference of them in text, either you need to go back up and put those citations in wherever they should go, or they should be deleted off of your Works Cited page. You don't use them. If they're not in text, they don't go on the Works Cited page, and vice versa. If you've got a source cited in text and it's not on the Works Cited page, that's an error. It needs to be put on there because they have to cross-reference one another. Okay. Any questions so far? Let me check my time. We're doing good. Okay. Alrighty. So here, author page, citation for classic and literary works with multiple editions. So this would be Mark and Ingalls. This is if you've got, again, this is where that template is super helpful, because if you do need to add some of this stuff, it's going to tell you exactly how to do it, where to put it, where to plug it in case the Works Cited page isn't picking it up, or the citation generator is not picking it up. So this one here, Marks and Ingalls, there were two authors, so both of them have to be listed, Marks and Ingalls. That would be the same whether it was in the signal phrase or in the parenthetical citation. You do it just like that with an and that's only for two authors. It's different if you have more than two. But then this is page 79, chapter 1. So that's just providing a little bit more information. You really rarely ever have to do this, though. I'm just telling you, it's almost never used anymore. So coming down here, this one is author page citation for works in an anthology, periodical, or collection. It's really the same thing. You're going to see it's not really any different. So you've got Einstein and then the page number. So that's what that would look like. Same thing. A lot of these, if you see, once you kind of get the basic idea down, they're pretty similar. Okay. This is one if you've got two different authors with the same last name and you're citing it in text. So you just have to put the first initial. So I did have one student one time that had like 5 authors all with the last name Smith. And they had forgotten to put the first initial of the first name in the in-text citation, and it was like, I don't know who these are from. So you do have to do that. So there was obviously in this research for this student on their Works Cited page, they're going to have 2 different sources that start with the last name of Miller. So in that case, you would put the first initial of the person's first name, period, space, the last name. This, of course, would be a physical source because there's a page number. If there wasn't a page number, you would just end it here. Here, same thing, just A. Miller and R. Miller. Okay, this one here for a source with 2 authors, lists the author's names in the text or in the parenthetical citation. So that was kind of like that Marks and Ingalls one that was up above. This is Best and Marcus, so these are 2 last names. Again, if it's just 2, then you just do Best and Marcus, and then they did it in the signal phrase here with the page number. Here is when they're put into the parenthetical citation. So Best and Marcus with the page number. Again, you're most likely just going to be ending it here because most likely your source is electronic, and a period. Now you might ask, who goes first? How do I know which last name goes first? Is it alphabetical? And the answer to that is it is not alphabetical. It would be whichever author's name is listed first in the source that you're citing. So that might, most likely a citation generator is going to pick it up and put it in the right order. But let's say they didn't give you the authors' names and you have to plug them in. Well, which one do I put first? You put the one that comes first. So if they have listing two authors, they're going to always put one first. It is not, in this case, it is alphabetical, but that's not always the case. Again, so you just look at the source and you say who came first, and that's who goes first on the citation as well as in text. And notice here, I don't know why they do this. Believe me, I have no idea how MLA comes up with all this, but they do. A lot of times there's no rhyme or reason in my opinion. But if you've got two authors' name, the first one that goes list first, best, comma, David, comma, and I think that is a comma, not a period, yes, comma, and then you're going to go and then the order flips for the second name, then you go first name, last name, period. So first one is listed last name, comma, first name, comma, and first name, last name, period. Okay, and then you continue on with, obviously we know this is an article title because it's quoted. This is the main title. Volume number was from fall of 2009. Here's a page number example. This one here, I do want to show you guys this Juster and then a DORJ-STOR. This would be if you used a database, and we'll go into the library. If we don't have time tonight, we'll do it next class. But this is when you go into the library and it's going to give you go into a database. And the template that I gave you does show either you're going to just have an URL here, or if you pulled it from a database, you're going to list the name of that database, comma, and then the URL here, or I need to let you know, or a DOI number. This is a DOI number. DOIs are like URL numbers often change. Like you might have a URL one year and you go back the next year and that URL doesn't work anymore. Where a DOI is literally a permanent internet stamp. So it's always going to be there. You're always going to be able to reference that source from a DOI. It's not going to change. It's pretty rare you can find a DOI though, I'll tell you, except on the Front Range Library. A lot of those sources have a DOI. So any questions so far?
I actually have one really quick.
Yeah.
What if like the person you're quoting is a doctor and it comes from like a medical text? Do you just drop that title and
Very good question. You would do best, comma, David, space, doctor, period.
okay,
And then go from there.
thank you.
Great question. Yeah. And the citation generator should pick it up for you. It should pick it up, but that's a great question. Now, this one here, yes, you're so welcome. This is such a glorious change that did not used to be. If you have more than two authors, so three and above, you only have to list the first one, which is so nice. You do not have to list 20 authors. I remember sources where there literally was like 20 authors. You had to list all of them. You do not have to do it. You just do et al., which means and so on. So according to Frank, and you do it just like this. You do the space and then lowercase et space lowercase al period. This is how you have to do it. Whether you're using the signal phrase or plugging it in like down here in the parenthetical citation, this you have to do it just like that. Period at the end of all, etc. And then these are always lowercase. So they're showing you et al. With the period, space, page number, and there you go. And then first they just did it where you could do it up here, and then but still on the works cited page you still had to list all the authors. But yay, they did away with that. So even on the works cited page now, which is glorious, if there's more than two authors, you just do the first one and then et al. So you're done. It's so much better. So, and this happens a lot. You're going to see using et al. Is very, very common to have to use. So any questions with the authors? And again, just remember it's more than two et al. Okay. Alrighty, continuing on here. I do see a question, I think, or a comment. Nope. Okay. Thank you. All right, so then here, this is if you cite more than one work by an author. So if you have Leitner, and let's say this Leitner is the author's name, And then you're citing two different articles or three different articles, whatever it would be, from the same author. If you do the author's name in the signal phrase, you just have to put the article title in text. So this tells me that Lightner wrote too soon. This tells me, because Lightner is the only name in the signal phrase, Lightner also wrote hand-eye development. These are, of course, article titles because they're quoted. And then if it's two books, so that's two article titles. If it's two books by the same author, same exact way, only now the titles are italicized versus quoted. So Murray is the author, and Murray wrote the book Right to Learn, and then Murray also wrote the book A Writer Teaches Writing. And we know that these are not article titles, these are book titles because they're italicized. Okay, I mean, you could even have one article in one book and the author's name's not going to change, right? It's the same one. And then let's say you don't want to use the author's name in the signal phrase, you want to use it in the parenthetical citation. So then the way you do that would be you would put it in the parenthetical citation. This is one time that you do use a comma. When you're doing a parenthetical citation, it's pretty rare that you ever use a comma, so just know you don't use them mostly always. But when you have an author's name plus an article title or a book title in the parenthetical citation, you do have to use a comma. So we know that the author's last name was Elkins, comma, and then the article title was Visual Studies. We know it's an article because it's quoted. Space, page number, of course, if it's electronic source, you're just going to get rid of that page number, end parenthesis, period. Okay, any questions on that? Alrighty. Okay, now this here, if you cite from different volumes of multi-volume work, this so rarely ever happens, but this is how it would be volume 1 and then it colon. So multi always include the volume number followed by a colon. So put a space after the colon, then provide a page number. So this is the volume, colon, and then these are the page numbers for volume 1. And this was from Quintilian is the author who wrote this title. It's volume 1, colon, and then the page numbers. That's how you do it if there were multiple volumes. I'm sure it happens sometimes. It's just so rare that you do. If you're quoting, I know scripture, if you're quoting the Bible, it is done, it's its own unique way of citation. So you do have to put the translation of the Bible, and that is italicized. And then you have to put, so Ezekiel chapter 1, verses 5 through 10. So you have to put the chapter name or the book name with the chapter and then a verse. So translation, comma, the book of the Bible, and then chapter 1, verses 5 through 10. So that actually comes up quite a bit where people do have to cite it. I'm not sure if the Quran is the same way. I'm assuming yes, that it would be the same. But I don't know, honestly, if there are multiple translations of the Quran. I would assume that there were, but please don't quote me on that. I don't know for sure. But I would help you look that up if that were the case. And then again, this one here, this is telling that this is in the book of Revelations, chapter 4, verses 6 through 8. So chapter, Bible, and verse. Okay, this one here does come up an awful lot. This is called citing indirect sources. So this is something where, okay, they're quoting that you're writing about this person, Ravitch, that, wrote this, said this information. Ravitch is the one that said it. However, Ravitch was quoted in Weissman's book. So you put Ravitch up here to explain that Ravitch was the title, and that, not the title, I'm sorry, was the author, but you didn't get it in this person's book. You got it in this one's book. So then you have to do quoted in. So you do parentheses, QTD, period, and the period is required, space in, space, last name of the book that it's actually found in. And then again, if it's an electronic source, you ditch the page number and put in the parentheses here with the period. Okay, and this does happen a lot. Like, let's say this said Einstein argues, and then you quote that, and then you do quoted in Weiss. And then again, the period is important, space, the in is important, etc. All that is important except the page number, unless it, of course, is a physical source. So any questions on that one? That comes up a lot. Okay, and this, Lex, I believe you were the one that asked this question. This should answer it, of how we do this. So transcripts, plays, or screenplays, sources that take the form of dialogue involving two or more participants have special guidelines for the quotation and citation. So dialogue, this is if you're quoting a book's dialogue, okay? This is how you would do it. And then here, and I'm being honest, I'm not very familiar with this, so I feel a little shaky directing you guys here. So conclude with a parenthetical that explains where to find the excerpt and the source. Usually the author and title of the source can be given in a signal phrase before quoting the excerpt. So the concluding parenthetical will often just contain location information like page numbers or act scene indicators. So they put it up here in the signal phrase. However, if you didn't put it up here, you are going to have to put it down here, just like you would any other source. So it's O'Neill's, and then that's the name of the title. And then this is the, where you find it. I hope that kind of answers your question, Lex. Okay. And two types of non-print sources you may encounter are films, lectures, or presentations. See, question. Thank you. You are so welcome. I hope that answered it. I feel a little shaky giving you that because I'm still a little shaky myself on it. I might look up another source, like just to confirm that I understand it, if you were to do that. So let me know if anybody does do it. If I can't find it, if I don't know how to do it, I will look it up for you and help you find it. So, because every semester something comes up where I'm like, I don't know, that's a whole new thing. That's what I mean with citation. It's kind of ever evolving. So two types of non-print sources you may encounter are films and lectures. So Werner Herzog's Fitzcarraldo stars Herzog's longtime film partner, Klaus Kaczynski. So this one here, and the two examples, Herzog is the film director and Yates is the presenter. So they put them both up in here. And if it was, and then on your works cited page, you're gonna do the director. So you do comma, just kind of like, Joel, you asked about doctor where it would be DIR, but this is director. And then you list that, and then here, again, I'm a little shaky with some of these, but with films and stuff, but you have to put the director, you have to put, or if this was a reader that did it. I've never had a citation where you had to put all that together. I have had a lot of it where people use movies where you do have to list the director, but not presenter. Never had that one, but not to say it can't happen. And then this is what the presenter would look like. So you'd have to do two. It looks like two on your works cited page, one for the director, one for the presenter. Okay. And then this here is just going to tell you electronic sources may include web pages, online news or magazine articles. This would be an online film critic stated that that movie Fitzcarraldo has become notorious for its near failure and many obstacles. Taylor, and then the name of the film. Taylor would be either the film, that would be the online film critic, and then the name of the movie. All right, and then here's Taylor. Slant Magazine. So that's reviewed by Taylor Ramsey. This is the film being done. This is the critic that they were using to assess the film. This is what it looks like on the works cited page. And then they did the Al Purdue, they threw that in here up here too, Al Purdue. And this is what it looks like. This is the section that they're using MLA formatting, or like the chapter title that they used. And then here's how you would cite it. Okay, let's say that you've got this longer sentence or one sentence where you've kind of pulled information from two different sources to make one sentence. This is how you do it. You do whichever comes first, like we used Burke up here and then Dewey's here. So you do Burke, this is one time you would use a semicolon. You don't ever rarely use them, but if you had two authors to make up one sentence or one paragraph of information, you do Burke and Dewey, and it would look like that. And then you'd have to do two different citations. You'd have to do a citation for Burke on your works cited page and a citation for Dewey, because they're not hooked. It's not two authors writing the same thing. These are two totally different sources that you're drawing information, hence the semicolon. Okay, and then it's saying here, when a citation is not needed, it's just like general information that like is really common information. But I will caution you guys with that, because what's common for one person isn't common for somebody else. And when you get to like your argument paper, I always find more citing is better than less citing. So when in doubt, cite it. That's what I kind of will tell you. And I will, with feedback, I will go through and I'll tell you if I think citation is needed. I'll plug it and I'll tell you exactly where I think it's needed. But this is like one more that I will show you. Let's say that because YouTube videos, you cite them just like any other citation. However, if you're using a media-based timestamp that you just use that one portion, you didn't use the whole video, then it's kind of like a page number. Then you put in the timestamp in the parenthetical or on the works cited page. And that's what that looks like there. And you just literally copy the timestamp down of when you used it. Are there any questions on this? This is a lot of information, a lot to go through. And like I said, I don't expect you guys to know this even after tonight, but now you know where to go look for it. And now hopefully it'll kind of refresh, and I'm here to help you all the way through, because we'll be working on citation the entire semester for sure, especially when we get to our argument paper. One other thing that I do want to show you, let's see, let me go back to our class. Hopefully it doesn't pause us. And we're going to go through the citation machine or EasyBib. I do also want to show you guys this MLA template is a blank template. So this is kind of nice. It's got shows you exactly what you need to have. When I told you about the container, this would be if you used the, what do you call them? The databases. Yeah, databases. This is where these would come into play. That would be a container too, would be if you used a database. And this is just showing you. Again, you're not necessarily going to need all this information, but if you do need it, this is where it goes. And this is how you do it. Alrighty. And then another thing in here, like I said, this is kind of loaded with lots of information in here for you guys to help you. You might even somehow take notes to yourself that citation's all under week 6. This here, let me go back in here. I want to show you a block quote because that's important. So block quotes, what are they and how do you use them? So this is probably going to take us to nope. So this one here, you can watch this and it's going to tell you how to do a block quote, but in just really short way of letting you know how to use it would be any direct quote. It has to be a direct quote. Any direct quote that is 4 or more lines. So when you can count 1, not periods, but lines. So 1, 2, 3, 4, you've got 4 lines. Then it has to be put in what's called direct quote or block quote format. And a block quote format is, I wish this thing would be under, I think if I click on this, it's gonna, but this gives you a whole tutorial.
The average attention span for a human.
But I want to just,
It would called a block quote.
Okay.
Remember,
So I'm just going to show you guys right here. No, but that's not right. That's not right.
that it is not 4 sentences, but rather
Okay, I'm actually going to go back to EasyBib. You can watch this. I just want to do something that will show us real quick. I'm going to go to Al Purdue, and I'm going to ask for block quote, which you can go there too. That works as well. So let's go back up to Al Purdue, and you can search up, might even have it on the side here. Go away ads. This is a wealth of knowledge here, guys. So it's got all kinds of stuff for you. I don't see block quote on here. Footnotes and notes. Okay, I'm just going to search up block quote. If I can get to the search bar. I don't see a search bar on here. Search the owl. Here we go. So you can just type in MLA block quote. Man, it didn't give us anything. No, there we go. That's weird. I've done this before and it's given it to me. Here we go. Okay, formatting. Why do I not see block? Let me try it again here. Block quote format. I think this just put us back. Why is it not giving me block quote? This is very weird. Well, it says it here. It's just not giving an example. I'm sorry. I'm going to go back to that other one. Now it's not giving me an arrow to get back, so I don't want to lose you guys. I don't want to go into pause mode. Okay. Go back, go back. This used to have a block quote. So either I'm not seeing it or they don't have it. And now it's not letting me go back to our class. So all right, I'm just going to go back here. I'm just going to kind of show you guys. It does give us a little bit of an example. And I'll just have to sort of show you. Sorry. You can watch this video and I'm sure it's going to show you. So if I could get rid of this, it would be really helpful. But what you do with block quote is if it's 4 more lines, you are going to indent the entire quote. So you're going to come in and just do tabs and indent the entire thing. Up here, let's say before you start the direct quote, you have to put a colon. So before the quote starts, you put, like, let's say it started right here. Universe consists of, and then after of, I'm going to put a colon, and then I'm going to jump down and I'm going to start my block quote here. Notice that with a block quote, the indentation takes the place of the quotation marks. So the quotation marks get pulled off of a block quote. So you don't use them, they get pulled. And then you just cite it the same way. So Austin this, and then you'd put a period. This period should be moved here. We go right there just like normal. And then you just start with your text again. So it goes in. You would put, like, let's say this is where, because you can't see the colon, I'm sure there's a colon here, but you can't see it. If it started right here, you do colon, and then you do your direct quote, or your block quote, pulling the quotation marks, and then you just get started again with your text. Does that make sense to everybody? And block quotes happen quite a bit. If it's a longer quote and you're like, I just like how it sounds, I don't want to paraphrase it, I don't want to lose the impact of the quote, you can definitely do that. Loud truck. Sorry. Is it too loud outside? I can shut the window if it's too loud. Okay. All right, you guys, what time do we have? It's 7:13. Okay, I am gonna very, very quickly, just in case you have not seen it before, I'm gonna show you guys, I need to get rid of our chat. There we go. Okay, I'm just gonna show you the citation generator. Have you guys used citation generators before? Anybody? I would imagine you probably have.
I've used the OWL Purdue one before.
Oh, yes, and you can, thank you, Joel. You can use Al Purdue. That one works just fine too. It takes you to Citation Machine, just so you know, it'll pop you into Citation. So this is Citation Machine. There's EasyBib. Al Purdue will take you here. It doesn't actually have its own, but it takes you here. And then all you guys have to click on is Citations up here. And then you're going to come here and you're going to select, is it a website, book, journal, whatever, anything electronic you can pretty much get away with just using website. And let's see, I'm going to stop sharing just for a minute because it's going to pause us, but I'm going to pull a URL. I didn't want to do it with you on because it would actually, let's just cite, we'll just cite Al Purdue. That'll work. And let me bring you back into the class. We're back in here. Okay, right there. So all you have to do is you can click on this this drop-down menu, and it's going to give you like a lot of different types of sources that you can cite. A lot of these are going to have you build like the template. It's not going to maybe give you as much information. You might have to build it a little bit further. But I have found that the website works really well for pretty much anything that's online. You may have to go back and, pull in information and put it in there, but it's going to really serve you pretty well. So you just you click on website, and then you just click in the URL of the website that you're citing, and then you do search. And then you're like, okay, is this the source that you wanted? I'm like, yep, that's what I wanted. So then you just click cite. It may make us watch an ad. I hope it doesn't tonight because we're kind of out of time for tonight. And then it's going to go in, and it said, here's what we'll need your help with: the publisher, sponsor, and then the date published. So then I would go back to the source, and I'd look down at the bottom and see if I can get a publisher or sponsor. I would also look if I could do date published. And then when you click on it and you've got it here, then you can just type it in. Like, I'm assuming that this would be Purdue University, would probably be, but I don't know that for sure. You would type in the sponsor. Again, author's name's not available because I didn't go to any article. We're not going to even have an article title because I just used the main basic the home page. I didn't use a specific subtitle or chapter. And then I would also go in and I would look to see when it was published, and I could plug that date in. Let's just say it was published in 2025, okay? And you could put date and year. And then all you have to do is do complete citation. And then you're going to go and you're going to find it, and you're going to copy the citation, and then you can literally just paste that. You can just paste that onto your Works Cited page, and it just pastes right in there. And we'll do that next week. Next week what we'll do is we'll start by going into the library, and then also creating the Works Cited page just to show you the exact formats of how to do it. And that doesn't take very long. It'll just take like 10 minutes of the class. So that's a lot in one night. As I told you, it's going to be power packed, and I didn't say 5 minutes. So really quickly, I think we've got, we're 2 minutes over. Just really quickly review for you guys tonight. You do not have a discussion, and you do not have a weekly assignment. I did give you just this this chapter reading, which is super helpful, and then a quiz based on the chapter reading. But all it is basically giving you more. It's really helpful. I really like this chapter book. It's fabulous because it's just to the basics, doesn't give anything else but information. And it's going to just dive in a little bit further on what we just talked about tonight for paraphrase, summary, and citation. And it's just a short quiz due by Sunday. Your final paper, I did move it to give you till the 8th of March. So that means you still have till the 7th of March to request feedback from me. So I'm hoping that that is just going to help you guys, just to give you a little bit more time, get more feedback if you'd like, not feel in a rush, and just work on this first essay. And that said, it's kind of a wrap. All right, we're a few minutes over. Okay. Do you guys feel like your brain got waterlogged? A lot of information.
Yes.
It was a lot, but it was really useful.
Oh, good. And it is recorded. So hopefully that helps you guys too. And again, I would never